Welcome to Rock Talk. It's very early in the morning, making my very first video. It seems that I have these moments of inspiration, these thoughts that inspire me to do big things, but they never happen like in the middle of the afternoon. It's always like 5 in the morning, I wake up, and before I can go back to sleep, but I'm not quite awake yet, these thoughts come to me. And I don't know, I think there's like a connection, maybe a window to the soul that opens up where Source can speak to me very clearly without any distractions when I'm in those moments between dream and awake. Because when I'm awake, my head starts going. Ego kicks in, and it's hard to discern my ego from Source, if that makes sense. Kind of like you'll see in a lot of spiritual writings, that's a small, still voice, right? Be still and know that I am God. It's hard for me to be still. That's something that I will probably constantly be working on for the rest of my days here. But this morning when I woke up, I was inspired to be vulnerable. So I wanted to talk a few minutes on vulnerability, if I can even say the word right. It's important to be vulnerable. It's a strength. It's not a weakness. I mean, obviously you have to be careful on who you're vulnerable with, because other people can hurt you if they don't know how to properly care for you during those times of vulnerability. I am learning to be vulnerable. I am finding out some truths about myself as I continue on this path to wellness and recovery. One of the things that I know is I've always sought attention, or approval and attention. So I wanted your attention, but then I wanted positive attention. You had to approve of my decisions or my actions or my behavior. And if you didn't, then I conformed myself to what I thought you wanted me to be. And I spent a lot of years doing that. Kind of not really, I was never myself. I didn't even know who I was, so I didn't know who to be. So I would be somebody else depending on who I was around. Wearing the mask, building the walls. Wouldn't let anybody close. Just wanted you to like me and approve of me, but I wouldn't let you too close. So it made it very difficult with relationships. It has still made it very difficult with me with relationships. So today I can be vulnerable. So I'm going to be vulnerable right here. And I'm going to talk about some truths. The reason I believe, the reason that I have always been an approval seeker is because of being abandoned early on as a child. Now, my biological father gave me up before I was born. My mom's second husband, who got married right around the time I was born, or either right before or right after, adopted me and became my legal father. By the time I was 3, he left and disappeared. And then a couple years later, my mom gave me and my brother to my grandparents so that she could go to school. That's just the first 5 years of my life. Freud talks about the first 6 years being the most significant on kind of setting the tone for the way that you act later on in life. There's some debate on that, but I think that early childhood, how you're raised as the brain is in its developmental stages early in life, do play a major role in some of the ways that we think about ourselves, some of the ways that we act around other people, and I think that's true for me. Now, my biological father, I did ended up spending a little bit of time with him, but we never had a relationship. Never got birthday cards, never got I love yous. I don't think I was ever called son. That was something I found out I had to deal with years after the fact, waiting for a relationship to develop that was never going to, and finally coming to terms that it was never going to happen. He has since passed away. He died of a heart attack at age 55 or 56. Now, my mom's second husband, my adopted father, I did not reconnect with him until I was a teenager, and then actually went and lived with him and reconnected with him, and now have a very loving relationship with him. We don't talk very often, and I don't see him very often. He's in another state, but we do love each other, and we do have communication. So it probably could be a lot closer relationship, but it is what it is, and I love him, and he loves me, and I think we're both content with that. You know, we're both very busy people, so that's good. But I can be vulnerable today, and I can share those types of things. You know, as a man, I can say that, you know, I sometimes I don't think highly of myself because I don't think anybody wants me. I don't think I deserve love because the people that were supposed to love me left. So if you love me now, does that mean you're going to leave later? Love me today, leave me tomorrow. I mean, that is so ingrained in me that I act out on that. It's self-love, self-talk, self-wellness. It's self this, self that. I mean, you could put self in front of anything, but when it all comes down to it, wellness and recovery are directly related to self-love. Everything else kind of spins off from that. Because if we don't have self-love, then we start looking at things differently. Ourselves and other people and situations. And then we start making irrational decisions based on irrational thinking. So I would encourage you today to just get real with yourself. Admit where you have some flaws. Admit where there's areas that need improvement. I have self-love today. I still do approval seeking and attention seeking. It still happens. But when it does, I usually notice it. You know, that where the motivation is coming from. And I try to take the necessary steps, the right feelings, the right behaviors to not get caught up in that cycle, because it can be very sick. It's almost like I'm using people to try to fill a hole in me. So today that hole is filling up, but it's with self-love. I mean, it's from within. I'm not going to find it outside of myself. So I hope you've enjoyed today's first Rock Talk, our real talk on recovery and wellness. If you like this video, I'll make some more. Please like, please subscribe, please give comments. I'm open to discussing anything wellness related. Have a blessed day, and remember, when love replaces fear, serenity will appear.